Hi there, business owner, and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, the place where we go beyond the numbers and dive into strategies to help you build a better business one step at a time. I'm your host, Stephanie, a multi-award-winning entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in the bookkeeping and accountancy world. If you're a business owner looking to streamline, grow, and get back the time that you deserve, you're in the right place. We're tackling real-world problems, answering tough questions, and digging deep into business-building secrets in just 15 minutes each week. So are you ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity? Then let's go. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for 15 minutes of CPD certified motivation, inspiration, and education to help you build a better business. If you listened to last week's episode about resetting in January, this one follows on perfectly. Because today we're talking about something almost every business owner feels in January, but very few talk about openly. That's where I come in. Cash flow anxiety. January is one of those months where the numbers can look uncomfortable, to say the very least. And the problem isn't always the cash flow itself. It's not knowing whether what you are seeing is normal or whether it's a sign something needs fixing. So in this episode, we're going to separate normal January wobble from actual red flags, and I'll talk you through what to do with both. If you're new here, hi, I'm Stephanie, a business owner with over a decade of experience in the bookkeeping and accountancy world. Author, speaker, bookkeeper, accountant, and business owner. I'm here to help you build a better business with all my experience and learnings, the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to entrepreneurship. Let's start by normalizing this first. January is often quieter for almost all industries. Clients are slow to return, decision-making takes longer with that Christmas break, invoices sit unpaid a little longer than usual, and expenses still go out regardless of how motivated everyone else feels after Christmas. That combination alone can make even a healthy business feel incredibly fragile. Now let's add to that December spending, reduced working days, clients reassessing their budgets, and business owners panicking and pulling back. Suddenly everything feels super tense. Does that sound familiar? That doesn't automatically mean that your business is failing. It means January is doing what January always does unless you're a bookkeeper or an accountant. Cash flow is timing, not just profit, and January is a timing heavy month. So let's talk about what is usually normal and not something to panic about. First, slower payments. If your average debtor days normally sit at 14 or 30 days, January just might stretch that slightly. Debtor days are the time it takes from you sending an invoice to actually receiving the money into your bank. It's frustrating, but not necessarily dangerous if you've planned for it. I think it's really important that you are aware that there's bank holidays, that other companies close over Christmas for 2 whole weeks, and that if your payment is due then, that you've spoken to that customer and asked whether the payment will be made before or after Christmas, for example, or checking that things will be paid on time, just so that you can manage your own company finances, knowing when that money is due to come in, rather than expecting it and it not arriving. Secondly, quieter sales. January is often slower for non-essential services. People are cautious, they're recovering financially from Christmas, and they're not impulsively spending. If you're a product-based businesses, this is why so often January sales become a thing for most retailers, because they need to shift stock. They know that sales are going to be quieter, and that means that if they lower the prices on some of their products, that at least they're going to be making some sales, as opposed to not making any by keeping their prices what they are. Remember that a quieter January does not undo a strong year, and it does not set a precedence for the year ahead either. Third, tied to cash flow, even when profit looks fine. This is where business owners get confused, and I completely understand it. You can be profitable on paper and still feel absolutely skint. That's because profit and cash are not the same thing. Remember that profit is what's left after all of your costs. Cash is what's in the bank right now. And January often exposes that gap more than any other time in the year. If you expected this and planned for it, it's uncomfortable but manageable, which is why the data is so important. When you look at the trends, the peaks, the troughs throughout the year across your business, it's easier if you know it's coming to manage it. It's uncomfortable, yes. But if you don't look at that data and don't plan ahead for it or expect it, that's when it starts to feel really uncomfortable and you start to panic. Now let's talk about when January cash flow becomes a problem, because this is super important. First, red flag. You're surprised by it every year. If January always catches you off guard, that's not bad luck, that's a planning issue. And again, this is where you need to go through your data. If January is a slower month, a quieter month, and you know it is, then you need to plan for that every single year by saving a bit of extra sales and putting it to one side in December or Black Friday so that January's wage bill's covered. Second red flag, that you don't know your numbers. Now, as a bookkeeper and accountant, I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't mention that you need to know your numbers. If you can't tell me how much money you need to cover the next 30 or 60 days, you're flying blind. Anxiety grows in uncertainty, and we want to reduce that anxiety wherever possible. If you can't tell me how much money you need to cover the next 30 to 60 days, but you want to know that information, book a discovery call with me at ABCS UK and I'll see where I can help you. We have a range of solutions, whether it's a discovery call, a one-to-one session or power hour, or ongoing monthly support year round. ABCS UK helps you because your business deserves better. And that third red flag is that you're relying on personal money to prop up the business. Now, if you're doing this, I'm not shaming you in any way, shape, or form. I see it so often where business owners and directors of their limited companies are putting their own money in to cover wage bills or VAT bills or to pay the suppliers. And that director's loan account, if you're a limited company, just builds and builds. And actually what's happening is that personal money is propping up the business, and it also masks the problems within the business. You're not going to see the issues in the cash flow if you're constantly propping up the business with your own personal money. If you're constantly dipping into your own savings or you're using credit cards or overdrafts to survive January, that's not sustainable. And as I said, this is no shame here because I've seen it happen countless times. The fourth red flag is that you're avoiding looking at the bank balance. Avoidance is often the biggest indicator that something needs attention. If you're burying your head in the sand with any part of your business, that's usually a big sign that you need to eat that frog and do the scary thing first, because knowledge is power. Ignoring the numbers does not make them kinder to you, but you can make a plan once you get your head out of that sand and face the problem head on. The fifth red flag, you don't have a plan to fix it. Short-term dips in a business are one thing. I know it's difficult. There's highs and lows as an entrepreneur. It's not easy. Otherwise, we would all be doing it. But the ongoing stress without action is another. So whether it's cash flow issues or holes in that business bucket, you need a plan to start fixing them if the business is going to be sustainable and continue to grow. So what can you do right now if cash flow is feeling incredibly tight? If January is feeling uncomfortable, here's what you need to focus on. First, get visibility. And no, I don't mean going live on Instagram every day. List your known income and fixed outgoings, not a forecast based on hope, real numbers, real data, so you know where you're starting. What known income is due in, what outgoings have to go out no matter what. Second, tighten that credit control. Make sure invoices are sent out promptly, follow up professionally. Late payments are not a personality flaw, they're a process issue, and having that conversation with those customers is going to help get things paid quicker. If you have a bookkeeper or an accountant already, they should be offering credit control services to you. If they don't do it, you can outsource to somebody who does. If chasing up funds, if chasing up invoices is out of your comfort zone, outsource it to somebody that's comfortable. Credit control is one of the services that we offer to our clients who are on that monthly recurring contract with us. And a few years ago, one of the companies that owed one of my clients money, one of their debtors, was the Royal Household. So I had to call up the Royal Household as the next step of our credit control process. Obviously, on their side, they had lots of different levels of permissions before things could be paid. But having a call the Royal Household is just a small example, one of the wilder ones that I've had to do in my time as a bookkeeper and accountant for our clients. So if you don't have a credit controller in place and you're looking for one, go to the link in the show notes and book in a discovery call with me, and let's see where I can help you build your business. Third, review your pricing and offers. January often exposes underpricing. If you're busy but still tight on cash, something isn't aligned. This particularly relates to bookkeepers and accountants because we all do it. January is when all those last minute self-assessments come in, and we send emails throughout the year from April when the tax year starts saying, okay, it's time to do your self-assessment. It's time to do your tax return. Would you like us to do your tax return again this year? Something along those lines. And it's only at Christmas that business owners quite often stop and they go, oh no, I need to do my self-assessment. We, more often than not, bookkeepers and accountants don't charge that premium for the extra work. So we have a policy at ABCS UK is that if you come to us after the 31st of October, there will be a surcharge on your invoice to take into consideration that it's going to cost us more time, it's going to affect our capacity. Fourthly, avoid panic decisions. Discounting, slashing prices, All saying yes to the wrong work can create bigger problems later. And it's important to know that as a business owner, it's okay to say no, that work doesn't fit. There will be better work along the lines. And discounting and slashing prices is not something I ever really advise. I know a lot of the retail businesses will do their January sales. I often think you should add something extra as a freebie rather than discounting and lowering the value of your product or service. And finally, get support, whether that's your bookkeeper, accountant, or a trusted advisor. Don't sit in silence and suffer. Cash flow problems get worse when they're hidden, and we can really help not only get the money into your bank account, but take away that stress too. So here's the key takeaway. January cash flow anxiety is common. You're not alone here. Not all of it is a red flag, but some of it absolutely is. The difference here is awareness and action. If you want January to feel calmer next year, this is the month to understand your patterns and fix what's underneath. Next week, we're talking about pricing and why it might be holding your business back far more than you think. If you found this episode useful, please do like, rate, and review wherever you're listening to it or watching this podcast. It really helps this podcast reach more business owners who need practical, honest conversations about money and business. You can find the links and support in the show notes. This has been the 3Bs podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I will see you next week for the next episode. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I hope you found it useful and that you're walking away with some motivation, inspiration, or education to help you build a better business. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and of course connect with us on social media for more insights, tips, and behind the scenes content. Your next step in building a better business is just a click away. I can't wait to connect with you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.